How many precautions does it take? Here's the reality of violence against women. Welcome back to Stay At Home Feminist. Your soft girl era starts here, along with the fall of the patriarchy. I'm your host, CC Binx, and today we are diving into something every single woman or femme has thought about, and probably also just had drilled into their head since birth. How to stay safe from men. Even though women have seemingly been taking precautions their whole lives, the violence against women hasn't stopped. So maybe the problem isn't women. Maybe we should go to the root cause. But before we dive in, please like, subscribe, follow, do all the things. Yeah, okay, thanks. Let's jump into it. I can't think about when this started in my life, but it's basically been as long as I can remember. Like, me and all my female friends were like each other's safety marshals, handing out safety advice, making sure we call and text each other when we get home from a night out, sharing our locations if we're going on a date with a new guy. Like, if we haven't met him before, sending his picture in case we go missing. Like, seriously, how many times have you sent your friend a picture of a guy you're going on a date with in case, LOL, you go missing? Like, we do this, obviously not thinking that this person is really gonna us, but out of an abundance of precaution. And when you think about it, it sort of makes sense. It's not that drastic of a thing. And it's honestly very normalized and baked into just like girlhood and womanhood. I can't even count the number of times I've walked home or walked to my car with keys in between my fingers or pepper spray, or like the fact that I know that if I have an umbrella or a heavy water bottle, I'm less likely to get attacked than if I don't have something that could be perceived as a weapon. Like, I know so much information about this and I didn't seek it out. Like, it comes to you as a femme, as a female, it comes to you because it's necessary that we know this. And still, we see so many incidents of violence against women. And I'm like, did I miss the part where women forgot to be cautious? Because we are being cautious. We are being so cautious. Literally sending our location to 3 of our friends when we go to grab a coffee with a guy that we just met. We are being so cautious. And still, it is not saving us, at least not all of us. So maybe we should stop asking women to be cautious and start asking men not to be violent. Maybe. It seems to me that the burden of safety is always, or maybe often, put on women and girls. And society isn't addressing why men are so violent in the first place. I mean, on this season so far, you know, we've talked about the rise of the incels. We've talked about misogyny as a form of extremism. We've talked about how violent the patriarchy is. And with some of those concepts in mind, it's sort of like, no wonder men are out here acting like this. And also, it's not acceptable. And the only way things are going to change, it's not by having women be more careful. It's by having men be less violent. Like, it's simple. It's actually really simple when you say it out loud. It's actually not this crazy thing. But per usual, the patriarchy puts these expectations on women and girls from a really young age to cater to men, to be patient with men, to be like, stay out of the way of men so you don't get attacked by them, stay safe from men, stay cautious from men. And when women are harmed, we see so many times like, what was she wearing? Why was she walking alone? Why did her friends leave her? And it's like, why are we asking those questions? And why aren't we asking, why did her turning him down make him want to strangle her? Why did her walking across the street make him want to stalk her and break into her house in the middle of the night? I think we should be asking those questions because it really doesn't matter what she was wearing. If he wants to be violent, he is going to be violent regardless. I feel like a really simple way to say this is, let's look at this logic. Why are we expecting women to avoid being attacked, but we don't expect men to stop attacking? The math isn't mathing. You can do every safety precaution in the book. If he wants to get you, he's going to find a way. Not with me. I carry my weapons. Don't try me. Haha. Allegedly. Haha. But there are like lip glosses that are weapons. There are like mascaras that are weapons. There are like these, like, women have come so far in finding ways to protect themselves, where these like things that we'll just carry in our purse. It's like we're like spies out here running ops against every single man just in case he is the enemy. Because it's not all men, but it is always men. Let me say that again. It is not all men, but it is always men. And that is why women have come up with solutions like lip gloss that is actually a knife, or turning their keys into a weapon and putting it in between their fingers when they walk to the car, or knowing that pepper gel is better than pepper spray because pepper gel squirts right into the assailant eyes and pepper spray sprays everywhere, which will also be more likely to like push back and come onto you. Like, why do I know all of these things? I did not seek this information out, but here I am, hand in hand with my pepper gel and my Hydro Flask. Don't think I won't turn my Hydro Flask into a weapon if I need to. Every time I walk through a parking lot, I'm assessing. I shouldn't say that part out loud. Never mind. But if you know, you know. You know where I was going with that. Woman of the Hour. If you haven't watched that, watch it. It's actually based on a true story about a serial killer, and Anna Kendrick acts in it. And I think she produced it or directed it or something. And all the proceeds went to some sort of domestic violence against women thing. So it was like actually like great for a cause. But it is such a good look into this sort of concept of violent men versus women needing to take their precautions. And there's this one scene where she's in the parking lot, and it's like you could tell a woman filmed it because nothing is happening and everything is happening, of like that feeling when you're in a parking lot. And we all know it so well, whether the threat has actually been there or not. Like, we know what it feels like to be prey, whether it's imaginary or real. Like, anyways, I don't want to spoil anything, but watch that movie if you haven't watched. Woman of the Hour. Such a good one. Okay, so speaking of women not being safe anywhere, especially in parking lots, how many times have you heard, like, don't walk alone at night? What am I? A fucking Cinderella that I'm going to turn into a pumpkin? Like, I have places to be, places to go. Of course I'm going to walk alone at night. Probably not now because I don't really like do very many social things on my own. But when I was younger and I was out being a city girl, living my youthful life, like, you can't expect women not to walk alone at night. That is just a ridiculous thing. But it is a real word of advice that they give women. Why is don't walk alone at night top tier advice? Especially because we know that most of gender-based violence happens in the home or with like the perpetrator is someone you know and love. According to the UNODC, intimate partners commit nearly half of all murders against women. So there's that. And while society is like, women, be careful, women, the burden of responsibility for you to stay alive is on you, our safety is also somehow treated as an afterthought by like the way that cities are designed, or like lack of street lights, like poorly lit streets, lack of safe public transit, zero accountability for street harassment. That's just like so normal to get catcalled and yada, yada, yada. Like these things that make women more vulnerable. And it's not like that everywhere. I know in certain countries, for example, I'm pretty sure in Japan, there are trains that only women and children ride to like keep them safe. And like, yeah, maybe men shouldn't be allowed on every single train if you guys are the perpetuators of this kind of crimes. And I think that notion, I can't imagine. I mean, remember when we tried to ask people to wear masks in America so that we wouldn't like, you know, spread a global pandemic? They lost it, went full cuckoo bananas. So I can't even imagine being like, men to the back, men in their own train. They would literally storm the Capitol about it. And why? It's because men are so accustomed to the patriarchy, and it's expected. The patriarchy doesn't protect women. It never has. It never will. Not even the pick-me women who think that the exception eventually will come around to get all of us. It's time and time again protecting a man's right. The patriarchy makes it seem like the men have these rights. It's not actually right to act however they want while making women responsible for avoiding the danger that they impose. Yeah, if women have been following these safety rules forever and this violence isn't going down, like maybe these precautions aren't as helpful as you think. And I'm not trying to dissuade women like not to take precautions. Like if someone's coming for me, I am not going down without a fight. I have taken the precautions. I feel like I can't say it on camera, but like I'm ready. I am ready to be attacked. I'm ready to fight. And so I'm not trying to encourage women not to take precautions. Like I think you should share your location with your friends. And I think you should be doing all of that because this conversation isn't going to change the reality. Like we still need to take those precautions. You should make sure if it's legal in your state to have pepper spray on you or whatever, you know, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving advice. I'm just saying what I would say to my girls and say to my friends. Like if you can get your hands on a taser, have one. Why not? Unless it's illegal in your state. Don't do that then. I don't know. Allegedly. This isn't advice. Take your precautions. precautions. Don't take free drinks from people. Try and be in the buddy system, especially when you're on trips or traveling or like spring break or out at a bar with your friends, you know, like if your friend is going home with someone she just met, like know where he lives, know things about him. Like, do you know what I mean? Like take the precautions, and let's have a conversation about how those precautions can only do so much. Like they may save your life, so do them, but we shouldn't have to be taking these precautions. We should be addressing the fact that it is men's violence that's the issue, not women's lack of precautions. That's the point I'm trying to make. And I think that that is where the conversation often goes to, of like making it seem like women are somehow like the perfect victim for something like this to happen for them. And like we victim blame them. And it's so frustrating to see society, the media, whoever, continue to blame women for them being attacked by other people. Victim blaming is so mainstream. We've all seen it. What was she wearing? Why was she out so late? How much did she have to drink? But if the attacker is a man, which it pretty much always is, nobody is asking why he felt entitled to harm her. And especially if it's a white man, they go straight to like, oh yeah, he was mentally ill. No shit, Sherlock, you're mentally ill if you're strangling people, you know? Like, I don't care if he's mentally ill. That's obvious to me. If you're ready to people, yeah, I would say there's a screw loose there. What am I supposed to do with that? That's not helpful information. And it also doesn't feel relevant to talk about his mental health after the fact. Sometimes it can be life-saving to not take that drink, to carry that lipstick that happens to be a little knife that you can stab someone with, to do buddy system and walk home with a friend. Like that can be life-saving. And also women who do everything right can also end up seriously harmed or unalived. I don't know if I can say this word on the internet. Sarah Everard is a good example of this. And I think that was why there was so much like outcry in the UK when she was murdered, because she did everything right. She was wearing bright colors when she was walking home. She called her friend while walking, or her boyfriend. I can't remember. She took a well-lit street home, and she was still murdered by a police officer. We'll get into the police officer of it all later, but there's a lot to unpack there. At this point, I feel like a woman could be wearing like a nun's outfit, holding a Bible in broad daylight, and some dude will still be like, well, what was she thinking walking around that part of town? Of course, something bad was going to happen. Like they always find a reason to blame the victim, and that's bullshit. And it's also not helpful. I think it's really important that society stops expecting women to prevent violence against them instead of expecting men not to be violent. More importantly, victim blaming shifts the blame off the perpetrator. It shifts the blame off the men and inherently makes it so men don't have to grapple with the consequences of their own actions, of their own violence, of their own horrific behavior. Telling women to be careful feels like the biggest gaslight of all time, because the burden should not fall on us. It should fall on the predators. And I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. And it's even more gaslighty because guess what? Women are careful. We are careful as hell. And bad things still happen. So the problem isn't us. It is a world that refuses to protect us. I think two things I've seen in the media lately that have really, really like angered me and just honestly made me so sad to read about these cases have to do with young women being hurt and like college age women. Because like I remember being in college and for me in college, you just think you're invincible. Like I did so much dumb as you should in college. And that should be a time where you are like in this little bubble of safety or in this little like container to be able to explore and take things to this edge without being preyed upon, without being killed because of it. And you're just still so young. Your brain isn't even fully formed. And so it's like the idea of college aged girls having violent crimes perpetrated against them. It really breaks my heart. I mean, it breaks my heart for any girl or any woman at any age, but these two cases that have been in the media have really, really made me feel so upset and disgusted at the lack of protection around women and girls. And why does this have to keep happening? One of those cases is Idaho 4 murders. I'm sure you've heard about them. 4 University of Idaho students were killed. 3 of them were roommates, and then one of the roommates' boyfriend was there, and all 4 of them were killed, stabbed to death. which is just so gruesome. The case is going to trial now. So like the details have been resurfacing or surfacing for the first time with some of this stuff, and hearing about it, it is just like so brutal. I don't even want to like talk about it because I just feel like I want to respect the families. And yeah, but I will say there was no forced entry, and like they were in their home, safe at home, and that wasn't enough. The suspect is a criminology PhD student, aka like he literally studied crime, and he was a lot older than them. Like they're young college girls. He's like a fully formed adult PhD student. But this case just like hit me so hard because it's like the idea of not even being safe in your own home is terrifying, especially when you live in a home with like all your friends. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, ugh. And one of the reasons prosecutors think it was this guy is because his cell phone was like pinged near this house at odd times at like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, which makes me infer, and I assume the prosecution infer, that he was like stalking them, or at least one of them, and seeing their habits and stuff like that. And that is just so scary because, again, like you can't expect women to be that much on guard that they are looking out their window every morning at 4 just in case someone's car is parked out there stalking them. Like, do you know what I mean? Like these women did nothing wrong. They got home safe. Everyone who was killed, like got home with, one of the girls was with her boyfriend and 2 of the girls were together. Like they all got home, buddy system safe. They did all the things right, went home, ordered DoorDash, chilled, and then this. It's just, it's so sad to think about. The other case I'm seeing is the disappearance of Sadiksha Konkani. She is a 20-year-old college student who was on spring break in Punta Cana and basically just vanished. And she was seen on footage, like walking with her friends. And then you see camera footage of her like walking just with this guy. And there's so many people being like, why didn't her friends stay with her? Why? And like blaming the friends. And I'm like, okay, again, like lesson to all of us, be really careful who your friends go off with or whatever. But like if your friend meets someone, even if you are like, okay, let's share your location, let's share your picture, like you think you're being safe. If someone wants to be violent, like it's really hard to anticipate that and protect against that. And of course, the guy who's a suspect is like, has this whole story about how they got swept up in riptide and he saved her life and then he fell asleep on the beach. I don't really understand, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't know what happened, but it's just, I think whether he did anything or not, it is really shining a light on how unsafe women are with men they just met, with men they know, with like in so many situations, with men they've never met. And I think both these cases just really shine a light on all the ways in which like that violence that men perpetrate and create is often just looming and waiting and lurking and stalking and buried there, but always at the surface. And again, it's not all men, but it is always men. So it just, I don't know how we can expect these outcomes to change if we don't change the way we are talking about, thinking about, and preventing these kinds of crimes. The problem isn't that women need to be more careful. The problem is that men can be dangerous and society refuses to hold them accountable. Telling women to take precautions, or when these cases are in the media and saying like, well, why did she do this? And how did and that's just shifting the blame onto us instead of fixing a system that lets violence happen. Safety shouldn't be a privilege. It should be a right. I'm so sick of hearing people tell women to be careful. Yeah, it's important to spread awareness of why women should be careful. And also, let's push for actual change, better laws, better protections, and a culture that actually values women's lives. A culture that supports and nurtures women and protects them. And when you see this happening, which feels like time and time again, like so frequently, it's hard for me not to think that like when I'm like, why are men acting this way? I mean, obviously there's a plethora of reasons, but they act this way because they know that they can. According to RAINN, RAINN, 97% of reported rapists never spend a day in jail. 97%. And we've seen it often. The athletes, celebrities, powerful men literally have their crimes erased because of their status. Harvey Weinstein is the perfect example of this. He was literally like what started the Me Too movement because he had so many allegations against him for the horrible things he did to women. And his convictions in New York were overturned. They were overturned. And it's no wonder women don't come forward. The justice system seemingly protects perpetrators. We saw like a similar thing with Brock Turner, who was like caught on camera. There was like, it wasn't he said, she said. There was like visual evidence about it. And they were like, he seems like a good kid. I don't want to ruin his future. Like, okay, well, what about that girl's future and the trauma she's going to have to live with and get over? Judges literally let these kinds of men walk free because it would ruin their life. Like, what about the lives of the women they are ruining by being this violent, horrible predator way? And when you think about it like that, it's like, what is stopping men from being violent? If they think that they can get away with it. I just watched the Diddy documentary on Max, and basically the whole story was he had been being very violent to women since he was a teenager, before he got any fame, and kept getting away with it and kept getting away with it and kept getting more power and being more violent and doing more like horrible things. And it like was snowballed. And the more he got away with, the more emboldened he felt. I mean, I don't know how he felt, but I assume more emboldened someone would feel if you're getting away with it is like to keep being more violent and keep that going if that's already in your nature. Speaking of the justice system being all about protecting violence and not the people it harms, let's talk about cops and violence against women. All right, besties, let's get into it. Let's talk about some of the worst kept secrets in America, police officers and their domestic or sexual violence. If we're expected to trust the cops to protect us, why do so many of them have rap sheets that are longer than my arrest records? I'll say that. Research from the National Center for Women and Policing shows that domestic violence occurs in approximately 24 to 40% of police officer families, which is notably higher compared to not in the police force. It's 10% of the general population is expected to have DV, where if you're in the police force, that jumps somewhere to 24 to 40%. And I think it's crazy the gap there is 24 to 40% because it's like, well, yeah, there are probably a lot of reporting challenges of people who are experiencing DV from police officers. Because where do you go to report it? You're going to go to his coworkers? Like, victims of officer-involved domestic violence, they face very unique obstacles. I mean, we already just talked so much about how women aren't listened to or believed or protected when they come forward about these things. Imagine your abuser is a police officer, and now you have to think about the abuser's access to firearms, for one, his knowledge about shelter locations and all of those sorts of things, his familiarity with legal procedures, and the fact that he is buddies and works with police officers. It makes a lot of sense that all of that, I'm sure there's a lot more to consider, would deter someone from seeking help or reporting. So I bet these numbers are a lot higher if you ask me. In a 2010 study by the Cato Institute's National Police Misconduct Statistics and Reporting Project, that's a mouthful, police officers commit sexual assault at more than double the rate of the general public. Imagine how much worse that stat would be if every survivor reported. I have so many questions. I wish I could interview whoever did this study, because I'm like, so we're talking about while they're on the job, like people they're arresting, or what are we talking about here? Here's another crazy stat. Over a 10-year period, a police officer was caught committing sexual abuse or misconduct every 5 days. And that's just the ones who got caught. Every 5 days. Protect and serve my fuck. Between 2005 and 2007, at least 398 officers across 43 states were arrested for sex crimes. Across 43 states, that's almost 400 cops who were supposed to protect and serve. But apparently they thought they just wanted to protect and serve themselves. I don't even know. Like, not only are you not protecting and serving, you are a perpetrator of these crimes. Almost 398 officers. 398 officers over 43 states. This isn't just one bad apple. And since 2001, the FBI has reported that sexual misconduct within law enforcement has increased by nearly 50%, which makes me wonder, are the bad apples multiplying, or are we finally paying attention? Like, I doubt that it's increased. I bet now the FBI is just paying attention to it. I think the intersection of police mistreating women, even if it's their own wife or their children or strangers or people they're arresting, is like a very, very crucial way to highlight the way that the patriarchy gives men the benefit of the doubt to the point where it's putting them in positions of power, which then protect their misconduct. And then equally, at the same time, the patriarchy doesn't support women coming forward, doesn't embolden women to protect each other by reporting and putting these perpetrators behind bars because they're interrogated, victim blamed, not listened to. The stat I said earlier about 97% of rapists justice, never seeing a day in jail, like all of those reasons women are like told by society, like if you come forward, what's it going to do? And men are like, if you commit these crimes, you're going to be fine. And obviously it's not every time, I'm just like speaking generally. So we have this both happening. And then men are able to flourish into positions of power, senators, presidents, police officers, what have it, Supreme Court justices, etc. And that even emboldens them, while it makes it harder for women to come forward the more powerful a man is, because he can use that against them. And we see it with, the P. Diddy's of the world. We see it with politicians. We see it with those sorts of things, the Harvey Weinsteins of the world. But when it's coming from police officers, like they don't have that fame and fortune. All they have is this little bit of power, and that's what they're wielding it for. It's just horrible to think about and so frustrating. And like, believe women. That's why you believe women, period. That's the point of this. So men, what can you do about it? Okay. First of all, men, stop thinking that, if men weren't here for a day, who would protect you? Protect us from what? Men are only here wanting to protect us from other men. So I feel like men are also like, if I ever saw a man doing anything sketchy, like I would step in. If I ever saw a man harassing a woman, like I would fight him or whatever alpha dominance they got going on. But you're ignoring your group chat full of rape jokes. So if you're going to ignore the misogynistic jokes, you're not going to step in when it really matters either. Studies show that men rarely intervene when other men are being violent, probably because men loyalty to each other trumps women's safety. So like, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. And correct your friends or call them in when they are saying misogynistic, gross jokes. That's like the easiest way you can start if you want to start today. If you haven't seen Promising Young Woman, watch it. That is such a good film that really, really shows like how you got to look out for the nice guys too. I don't want to, again, no spoilers, team, no spoilers. I don't want to spoil anything, but just watch it. It just gives such a good glimpse into rape culture and the way that men are emboldened to treat women like objects and not treat them like human beings with dignity. So you might be a POS man, but also like women. I guess it's not gender specific. Maybe you think you're a good guy, but you're looking the other way. Like that's POS behavior. When women report abuse and men don't believe them, you're part of the problem. When men stay silent, or I guess, again, not gender neutral. When people stay silent, if their friends are being predators or predatory, like part of the problem. And if you're only caring about violence after it happens instead of helping prevent it. But yeah, all that to be said, be careful out there, girls. Be careful. I know this whole episode is being like, women shouldn't have to be careful, and we shouldn't, but we do. So be careful. But remember, like it is important to carry pepper spray, and it is also important to change systems. Like both things can be true. Personal safety won't save us if society continues to just make excuses for men and continue to put them in power and let these perpetrators fail upwards and become leaders and the people who are like supposed to uphold law and order in our country. Instead of only just trying to stay safe, I want to empower women to also call out toxic male behavior before it escalates, push for laws that actually punish these kinds of criminals and violent perpetrators and abusers, and stop protecting men who show red flags. And yeah, I guess I don't know why I said women should be doing that. Like everyone should be doing that. Everyone everywhere should be doing those three things. Thanks. Bye. So yeah, in conclusion, women are not responsible for ending male violence. Men are. And the next time someone tells you to be careful or not walk at home at night or whatever, like, yeah, take their advice. And also remind them that the only way to stop violence from men is for men to stop being violent. But I want to hear from you guys. Share your own experiences. What's useless safety advice for you? What's been life-saving? And what do you want to see more of when it comes to holding men accountable? Thank you so much for joining this week's episode of Stay at Home Feminist. I hope to see you next week, where we are diving into a super important topic: how the war on women's rights is just Christian nationalism in disguise, at least here in the US. That's the truth. So we'll get into the nitty-gritty of all of that next week. Don't miss it. Hope to see you there. And thank you again for joining. If you like this episode, subscribe, share, do all the fun things. Let's spread the word. And yeah, I hope to see you in the comments. Let's chat. Let's chat about it. Would love to hear some of your perspective on some of these issues, because I feel like I just scratched the surface talking about gender-based violence, domestic violence, sexual violence, all those things. Like I feel like there's so much more to dive in there. So let me know where you want to take the conversation next, because we'll take it there. All right, that's the show. See you next week. Bye. Bye.